Well, hello, friends. Welcome to Studio Wesley Live, our weekly hangout for community and connection. I'm Derek Scott III, and really excited to be with y'all. I'm actually in Boston, Massachusetts tonight, and we're going to have a great show. So I want my panel to introduce themselves and tell us what they're drinking at the moment. So we're going to start with Grace. Grace, how you doing today, this evening, tonight?
Time is not real. It's the weekend and time is not real. So overall, I'm well. I just got back from Lidl, the Lidl, if you will. And I got this really great like passion fruit juice. It's in one of my depression glass cups. I'll get us some like ASMR. But
Nice.
I, it's really good. I have not had it before, but I have that and I have my water. I'm being
Beautiful.
responsible.
Yes.
Oh,
Awesome,
and
Grace.
God is proud too.
I would say so. God and all of the angels. Sam, how you doing this evening, my friend?
I'm doing good. I've had a productive day today, which also included a Lidl trip to a new Lidl I've never been to before. So had to do a little bit of a trek out for that. And then I'm drinking an Earl Grey tea right now, which I let get a little cool because I don't like super hot things. So I'm having like a less than lukewarm Earl Grey tea right now, but it still kind of is fitting the vibe of like a chiller live stream right now.
Beautiful. I am a little jealous that you're drinking Earl Grey, not gonna lie. A little jealous. So great to see you, Sam. Allison, how is it, my friend?
I'm doing okay. I'm tired, but it's there are worse things to be, and I'm drinking a I don't even know strawberry watermelon polar seltzer.
Beautiful. I'm not as jealous of that drink because watermelon's not one of my favorite flavors, which there's a lot of people right now, if they're watching and they just heard this guy say that watermelon's not one of his favorite flavors, they'd be looking at me with side eye. I might
I'm
even
looking
have some
inside.
ancestors looking at me with side eye. So, yeah. So, it's good to see you, Alice. I am again in Boston drinking water because I landed just a little bit ago and still a little bit dehydrated from the flight. But it is good to be with y'all tonight. And so we're going to go to our regular weekly opening segment, highlight of the week. Let's go. All right, Allison, get us started. Highlight of the week.
Yeah, I this is one of those things that I just like randomly stumbled across on my news feed, and I was super excited about. It's an article about so he is a senior in high school now. But at the time, this started 5 years ago. For context, 5 years ago during COVID, he started reading to kids with disabilities online every day just to like give them a a place to be with people in a time when everything was closed off and they had nowhere to go, and then also to like help with their routine so they had something every day that they knew was going to happen. Or I don't know if it's every day, but like they always had something they knew was going to happen, and he kept doing it. And so now he was in seventh grade when he started, and now he's a senior in high school, and he's still like in connection with a lot of the same people from 5 years ago. And I just thought it was really cool. I was scrolling and it just popped up in my Instagram news feed, and I was like, this is such a like it was just such a beautiful thing. And I work with adults with disabilities in my other job, and so it was just kind of like a good full circle, and I just enjoyed it.
Okay, this is what highlight of the week is for. Like highlight of the week is literally to like expand our world and like bring in like highlights from the week that like, whoa, that's so fun, that's so good, it's so wholesome, it's so encouraging. So Allison, thank you for bringing that highlight. I just think that it's marvelous. And Allison every week, friends, post in our Instagram feed all of these highlights. So, one, we thank you, Allison, for all your great work. And also, you can learn more about that story tomorrow when she posts in our Instagram feed. So, thank you, Allison. Sam, you just left us again, and I hope that you come back because I would love to know what your highlight is for this week. Or should we go to Grace? All right, we're going to go to Grace because Sam's going to come back in a second.
If you insist. Yeah, so I and Sam, we miss you. We hope to see you soon. But while Sam's gone, I would like to report that the ozone is healing. The ozone is healing, you guys. Ugh! Okay, I have been so concerned because I'm like, well, one, like highly concerned about the ozone. But for the highlight of the week segment, I've been really concerned because I can't just keep reporting every time there's new music every week. And like I could, right? Like I could be our
You
music
could. Yeah.
reporter, right? And that would be fine, but I was like,
I'd be
I
very
would
okay with
love I would love just like general good news. I would love just like anything. Crumbs. And this is more than crumbs. This is so much more than crumbs. So essentially, based on effort from a very specific pact, I think 40-ish years ago, the ozone is healing. It's on track to heal. I think like right now it's like over Antarctica.
Okay.
But it's on track to fully heal in like 2066, I think. But over like more tropic areas, we are set to be mostly healed by like 2040 something, which is like really impressive
Yeah. Yeah.
and exciting. And I'm also scared because I'm like, is this gonna make it? Are we gonna get too excited about the fact that we healed the ozone?
Well, and I do wonder, I think that sometimes when we read scientific data and reporting of that data, we
Mm-hmm.
read it as like it's like static and like this is it. This is all there is, when like science is the study.
We're so back. Thank you, John.
God, I see you. I see you. We are so back.
I hope.
God, I miss you. And it's good to see that you're in the house. I'm sorry, I just had to take that moment. You're a rock star, John. Okay, we are so back. But I think sometimes the way that I'm so glad that John got the pipe in there. That was great. And sometimes the way that we take in this information is like it's this one report, and that one report stands for the next 20 years. But like science is kind of a moving target. And so it's a continued sort of discipline of discovery and testing and experimentation. And so I celebrate this news because we've had so much negative news around the planet, the environment, climate change. Oh, Taylor. We should have a conversation about all of these things one day. Maybe we'll do a special Studio Wesley Cafe about like the earth and like climate and environment. That might be fun. See, this is what Highlight of the Week does. It like starts these ideas. Beautiful. Grace, thank you for bringing that great news to
Thank
us
you.
that the ozone is healing. That's great. Sam, you're back. We missed you. We had a whole
I would
moment.
just like to be said that was the scariest moment of my entire time with Studio Wesley Annex.
Oh my
I
gosh.
that any show I've done with you guys has never been compared to this moment of almost being kicked out of this live stream. I don't know what happened,
Oh,
but I'm glad I'm back.
just know that we would never want you to be kicked out. Ever.
My
There's no universe.
my phone got very upset with me for some reason, but we're back now. The problem is fixed. And this kind of takes me to my highlight of the week because
Yes, let's do it.
My Apple product had a little bit of a problem. But my highlight of the week is about the new AirPods that are coming out. So I didn't actually know about this, but I was asking my friend, similar to Grace, I was like, I need some good news right now. What's going on? And my friend sent me this article about the AirPod 3 that their main feature that they're highlighting is that it can translate different languages in real time now, which is wild. And there's so much news and conversation that I think it's really important to be had right now about AI, especially when it comes to the arts and generative AI. But this is the first thing I've seen in a long time of a new technology implementing AI in a really streamlined way that like I don't see any kind of negative. This is such an interesting idea. And the person who wrote the New York Times article that I think we have a link to in the chat, they actually they talk about having a conversation with a friend, and you can not only is it translating in real time through Siri, but it also provides a transcript, which is not only a cool communication tool, but also to like remember the time in conversations with your friends. So I don't know. I feel like tech is never the sector that brings a lot of hope for me, or is a new exciting thing to report on as good news. So this one really surprised me, even though my own Apple iPhone is attacking me on this live stream.
And we're gonna stay with the positive because there are a couple of negatives that I could throw in there, or not
Hmm.
negative cautions, but that's
Hmm.
also the space that I spend a lot of time in, right? So we're gonna just stay with this. We're gonna celebrate this particular moment right here because there is something really incredible about being able to like understand each other. And here's what I hope. This actually is me giving the caution, but I'm gonna frame it a different way. I hope that the translation is local.
Hmm.
hope that the translation is like super, super like down on the ground, which takes a lot of work.
Mhm.
But man, if AI can do that,
If that's just between you and the person and you and your device,
yes, yes, like that your device knows how you need to hear
mhm.
these concepts, these ideas, this conversation, like how a word actually lands for you. Oh my gosh, the implications.
And
Um,
it is such a good piece of news that Allison, who is not an Apple user, said that she was impressed by it earlier today. So that's how big of a piece of information this is.
Sam is taking my words and using them against me on a live platform right now.
I
Yes,
mean,
yes, I am.
We are Android allies in this space, Samuel.
That's true. That's true.
Allison, if you get an iPhone, I am going to sing Waymaker. It's a song I have never sang in any space. But if you get an iPhone, I will sing Waymaker. I will. Because clearly, God is a Waymaker if you get an iPhone.
I don't want an iPhone, but I kind of just want to see you do that. Is it worth it?
I don't know. I don't know. Sam, thank you for that great, great highlight. Great highlight. All right, friends, my highlight. I've been trying to challenge myself on highlights because like there's highlights that I can very easily like bring to the table. And I'm like, no, Derek, like really, really bring like something that like has piqued your interest that you don't normally talk about. And so today I'm actually going to talk about a thing that I did yesterday. I went, hold on to your hearts, friends. I went to a college football game. I did. I went to a college football game. I went to Bethune-Cookman University's game against Edward Waters University. It was at the Daytona Stadium. And so me and my mom, I took my mom with me and we drove down to Daytona and I don't know if I should say this. Let me tell you how the game was great. Like the game, Wildcats to Tigers, 35-6, I think is what it was. Yeah, 35-9. Sorry, we left when it was 35-6 because we wanted to get on out of there. But the thing that I was like, not sure if I should say, but I'll go ahead and say, is like we got to sit in the president's box during the game. Yes. So part of the reason that I went was because my niece started at Bethune-Cookman this semester, my niece Makima. And also I am on the board of trustees by virtue of my role in the Florida UMC. And so every now and then we get invited to some of the games and I was able to go to this particular game because Everett Waters is in the city that I live in, Jacksonville, but my niece goes Bethune-Cookman and I'm on the board of Bethune-Cookman. So it was, and I just want to say, like, I don't do that a lot. Like I don't do that. In fact, my mom, she's told me on the way back, she was really concerned because she's like, you don't go to football games. So I was just really concerned that you were going to even like be sociable, like be somebody that anybody would want to go to a game with. And I was like, I paid attention and I had a good time and cheered when we got our, touchdowns and first downs and all that kind of stuff. And no, I don't know all the things about football, but there was just something really, really cool about being there, being at a college football game and just the vibe of a college football game, the bands. And they did this whole moment at the very beginning where all the freshmen got to like run on the field. And because I think this was actually BCU's first home game. And so they had all the freshmen got to run on the field, including my niece. So that was kind of cool to know that was happening. And Bethune-Cookman and Edward Waters are historically Black institutions. And so there's a whole different kind of pride in being in that space with my people and just celebrating that, like, and one of the words they used was scholar athletes. And when they said scholar athlete, my whole heart expanded. I was like, okay, I think I might come to another game just to hear that term again. So had a really, really great time at the football game. Shock, right? That's the highlight that I'm bringing, but that's the highlight I'm bringing. So really, really great highlights of the week. Again, pay attention to our Instagram page because Allison's going to make sure that you get to see all of these highlights. So thanks, Allison. Thanks, friends, for a great segment of Highlight of the Week. And now we're going to go to a new, but hopefully recurring segment called Words from the World. All right, so this segment is it's a chance for the host, and often that's going to be me, to bring sort of a piece to Studio Wesley Live and to our panel. That is sort of a word from outside of our community that I think lands for our community, that I think our community should really think about and talk about. And so today I sent, and I always send like the, or at least through our Slack channel, I send it to the panel ahead of time so they have a chance to read it. So it's not a blind read or anything like that. They got a chance to read this post and got a little bit of time to kind of process it. So the article that I sent to them was actually a Substack post by an account that I follow on Substack called Demography. Ooh, this beautiful word there. Demography Unplugged. It's a Substack account that's led by this guy named Neil Howe and Christian Ford. Neil Howe wrote this book that is like, it's not the Bible for me, but man, do I use it a lot. It's a book called The Fourth Turning Is Here. I just offer that to y'all for free. Anyway, this particular article is titled The Fading College Dream, and it's talking about the decrease in college enrollment rates this year. So, and not just a decrease in college enrollment rates, but the decrease in feelings about a college education. So, very top of the article, this is what Neil and Christian are reporting. A new Gallup survey finds just 35% of Americans consider a college degree very important. That's down 16 percentage points since 2019 and a staggering 40 points since 2010. So Neil and Christian go on to say a few things. They're trying to not make it so bad, but also explain some of the reasons for it. I did some other research that I'll talk about in a little bit, but it ends, and actually Sam brought this up where we were getting ready to hang out tonight, but Sam brought up the very last quote of this blog post. For many, the college promise has simply lost its value. So I bring this word from the world to our panel. I'm curious what you think about this. I'm curious if you are feeling this. Sam, you are going to American University in DC. And so you've got a particular perspective. Grace, you're hanging out at Kindler, which is on the campus of Emory University. And so you might be seeing some things as well. Allison, you're working at University of South Florida. So again, like you're getting a perspective as well. So there, I see you. Yep. So are you seeing this? Do you agree with Neil and Christian? Do you think that they are onto something? Is the promise of a college education losing its value, and do we no longer think it's really important? I'd love to start with Allison. What are your thoughts on this word from the world?
I think that I think my perspective comes from a different place. So like, I mean, Derek just mentioned that I do work for the University of South Florida, but I work for an organization on campus that's a transition program for adults in the autism spectrum. And so we actually spend, I think I was intrigued by this article mostly because we spend a lot of time talking to our students about their options. And I think that for so much of their lives, they've heard people stress the importance of college, but for some of them, the careers they want don't need college, or for them, for whatever reason, college is not the fit for them. And, we get students from everywhere. So we have some students who they want to go to college, they're on track to go to college, and we have others who are so against it. But then we have those students who are like, but I was told I have to go to college, or I was told getting a college degree is important, or I was told this, or I was told that. And so we have conversations all the time with like, realistically, let's look into the career or job that you're interested in. Do you need a college degree? Do you want a college degree? What is necessary for you to actually have that job? And we have to have like actual, like real conversations with them about the paths they're taking. And for some of them, it is about breaking that like knowledge of like, or that thought process that they have from other people about how they have to go to college. And so I thought this article was interesting because I was like reading it from more of that perspective of like, I talk to my students about this all the time, about how not all jobs need college and not everyone's going to go to college and not everybody needs to go to college. But if you want to go to college, we can help you do that. Like, and all of these different paths that they're able to take. So I thought I was intrigued by it just because it's more like, things that we can work off of. And it's more evidence of like, for some people, it is the perfect fit, and for others, it's not. So I don't know. Yeah, those are my initial thoughts.
Allison, I really appreciate that. I do think there's a question of whether I've always, when I talk about this demographic, I always try to say college age young adult, because I want to be really careful. There's some of us who people like me, I was on the 17-year plan of undergrad, and which meant that sometimes I was not taking classes, which didn't mean that I was not college age. It just meant that I wasn't there. And there's a question, like, for the things that I thought I was going to do when I was 18, did I need to go to undergrad? Like, did I need to? I'm glad I did, but I think because I only had this like one path that was considered legitimate, I struggled a lot more. And so then thinking about people who are differently able, thinking about people who have different gifts to bring to the table and different dreams, therefore, right? Is this the best environment for them? I also really appreciate how passionate. I don't know if I've ever seen you so passionate about a topic before, Allison. It's actually.
I think it's just like I was intrigued by the value piece of it. Like a piece that I didn't say that I meant to say too is like we value different things for different reasons. So while some people are gonna hold a strong value to college, for other it's their dream job that doesn't require you to take that same path.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Thank you for that, Allison. Sam, what are your thoughts on the fading college dream?
Okay, so this is one of the moments where I'm going to throw out all of my notes that I had ahead of time because I was going to talk about the actual Substack. If you get the chance to read it after this, I think it lacks a lot of time to talk about serious issues and like it can name an issue without being able to go into the nuances of it. And that was what I was going to talk about, but I'm throwing all of that out because of what Allison said. Because I think the best way to have this conversation is to look at the industry that you're looking for or whatever career life you want, and not just as a personal, let's look at what you want to do, but let's look at the health of that industry. So I'm going studying political science and public relations. And my career path, the one that I want, depending on which way, there's like a lot of splits for it. You can 100% do what I want to do without a college degree. Especially, I want to go more towards the legislative route. If you want to go work in campaigns, there is no criteria for what you need. I know mentors of mine who have run multiple successful campaigns and are known across the state where they work, who say a political science degree is a huge waste of money because they started with doing something else, sometimes in college, sometimes just straight out of high school, just started working in it. And it's about connections and it's about boots on the ground. And that doesn't require a 4 or more year degree, which costs a lot of money. The reason I specify look at the industry that you're in versus also look at the health of that industry is also what I think that this article lacks when it talks about it is talking about the usefulness in an ever shifting job market right now. Cause like there's nothing that you can point out to me and say that's the thing you should do to get a job right now. And I think that reality is not just true for like my class right now. I think that has been true for the last 20 to 25 years, where there is no longer the silver bullet of like if you do this, you are guaranteed to get a high level position in the career you want. And so I do think it is worth talking about. I think back to my really close friend actually at this school. He has a really big hyperfixation on colleges and universities. It's his favorite thing to research. And so he's on one end of the spectrum. He's studying journalism here at American and absolutely loves the idea of higher education and loves the institution to go and seek further information and all. Like he loves the idea of it. And his brother is trying to go to trade school right now to be a mechanic, and that family is having some disagreements because his brother is like, well, my friend tells his brother like, yeah, that's a very legitimate job path right now. That is something that as the industries are changing, like a mechanical degree will still hold on. It isn't influenced by politics or the job market. But his parents, to Allison's point, are some of those people of like, well, a college degree is what you do next. And that's got to be the path. And so there's a little bit of tension. And I think that the realistic way to look at that is to look at the fact that there's no answer anymore to how you do things.
Yeah.
Everything is changing so much. I feel like I could rant about this more, but I want to hear everybody else's perspectives on this because I have lots more thoughts on this.
Sam, and again, you being in your sophomore year, no,
Junior.
junior. You're a
Hmm.
junior. Oh my gosh, so sorry. I did not aid you, and I apologize for that. But you being a junior, like that's it says something. It says many
Hmm.
things. That's the position that you're holding as a junior. So thanks, man. Grace, what are your thoughts, my friend? Yeah.
Too many. Well, one, I'm thinking about it like I love academia. So like in my world of like where I would like to be, it's all about the institution. And like
Hmm.
dismantling the institution as well, but like for me from like the academic perspective, and in ways, right? Like there's also ways to approach academia or to approach like publishing without college education or without like graduate level education. Um, but like from like my academia perspective, the institution is that is the way that you do your job. Not
Mhm.
only do you need fill in the blank degree, but like you work at the institution supports you, the institution pays for your sabbatical, you are like fighting to get a job to at fill in the blank institution where they do the best research relative to your field. But also from my path, like just on the UMC, like I got lucky that one in undergrad I got to get a degree of just like whatever I wanted, basically. I went to UNF and it was actually by the records a DIY degree, and I just got to like build what I wanted. And so like I built it as how do we help each other and how do we hurt each other as humans. Um,
Hmm.
and like I could pull whatever classes from that, like sociology, philosophy, anthropology, religion, and like it was great. But because of my chosen career path that like allowed me to do that, I got lucky. And I also need a graduate level degree. And there's a million reasons why I didn't have to pay for my undergraduate and why I'm not paying for my graduate degree right now either, right? And so there's a lot of that to think about as well. Because
Mhm.
like
Mhm.
for me, I was promised go to institution, go to secondary institution, and then you will have job. And we will help you pay for this so that you can have job. But oftentimes like the narrative or the promise that the article is talking about is just go to college and then when you have your degree it'll look good on your resume and where you apply will respect you and you can get a job, and like that's not it's not a straightforward thing anymore. But interestingly, because I also work in Candler admissions, our rates were historically high. Our application and acceptance rates were like historically like they were high compared to years that they've been before, or
Mhm.
compared to years previously. So that's kind of interesting, but also graduate school is often something that is like more of a chosen path, especially in an area that you're interested in, whereas
Yeah.
like undergrad is not always. Um, but I don't know. I'm thinking
Yeah.
about like people who have been told like not either by the public, by like their schools, by whoever it is, but also by their families that are saying, no, I busted my butt, so now you better go to college to get a good degree, to get a good job, to get a good insurance plan or something. That it's this promise that has been handed down, but it hasn't changed with the times.
Yeah.
And then what are you left with?
Grace, you bring an interesting point to the table. I mean, the role of institutions and other sort of organizations deciding that a college education is essential to you serving them and being a part of their continued legacy, I think is a piece of, and therefore that institution's investment in higher education becomes a huge piece. So one of the things that Neil and Christian talk about in the Substack post is that, again, this is Neil and Christian, that conservatives tend to be less interested in institutions of higher learning because of their belief, and again, this is Christian and Neil, their belief that they are bastions of liberal, ideologies and things like that. Um, and I think that there's some data that supports that. I can't say that that's completely what I experienced in undergrad, but I also went to school in Jacksonville, Florida, at University of North Florida. So, yeah, right. But so their lack of investment in that institution, I think, contributes. But I also want to add another piece to what may be contributing to the decrease in believing that a college education is worth it. So this was from a different article. It's actually from New York Magazine. There is a 23% decline. There was a 23% decline in the birth rate from 2007 to 2022. 23%. So literally the number of 18-year-olds is like dramatically lower today than it was 17 years ago,
Derek,
which means that for the next 15 years, the number of individuals who could go into college is going to decrease. And that's a piece of this, y'all.
I'm still not over the fact that this is from a 2007 birth rate.
And can I throw something complete curveball into this that I
Come
just
on.
think is also important?
Which I've not given my opinion yet on any of this. I just want to make sure everybody knows. I have not actually said what Derek thinks yet. Okay, go ahead, Tim.
I'm saying this, so it's because of the last two things you just said about the ideological impact and the birth rate impact. Because the other thing is, how does this conversation, and not like our specific conversation, but the conversation around higher education that's going on, particularly in the United States, how does that also impact the health of the institution of higher education? Because the other thing is, with the political conversations around higher education, mixed with the fact that we already have a decreasing birth rate and we already have lower people trying to go to college, how are these academic institutions going to survive? Because if the answer is change the model to either get more people to apply or change the ideology around it, change that, is that still keeping intact the educational institution? Because the point of it as it is supposed to be laid out, and supposed to be is in big air quotes of institutional language, is this place of higher learning where multiple ideas can come together, and it's not necessarily ideological. But how much do we change in risk in talking about this conversation of, is it worth it? And when we have these big conversations of college isn't really worth it right now, is there a point in a degree? Is it going to make colleges weaker, especially as funding is pulled, and especially as people are worried about what the conversations around higher education are going to mean for their careers in academic institutions? How does the conversation itself lead to greater impacts? So I just want to put that out there, especially as we're showing these different viewpoints of why the institutions might have problems. What does those conversations do to the institution?
So here's Allison. You want to hop in on that because you were given good affirmation of what Sam said.
No, I was giggling at my own thought in my head, but it's not important. I was just laughing at the fact that I work in a transition program where I'm literally talking to college-aging adults about whether or not they want to go to college, but I work for that at a university. So then sometimes I'm like, you don't want to go to college, don't go to college, as I'm also working for one of the higher education institutes. So I was just laughing a little bit at that in my head because it's kind of funny.
So I just want to name some of the folks who've been commenting. Taylor, she put earlier in the comments, a lot of times it's one way or the highway when it comes to college. And I think that's difficult. That's difficult, particularly when institutions start decreasing the number of majors that they're offering, the number of offerings of those classes, right? But also John said that he wonders how the narrative behind the decision of college versus going into trade has shifted among youth. Exactly. And what's interesting, I remember going to Australia many years ago and hearing, I was going to actually hang out at a Bible college, which had a similar accreditation from a seminary, but not exactly the same. It was more like a trade school than a seminary. And it literally did. It created an entire pathway for people that I don't think would have ever gone to an undergraduate institution in the same way. And so I love what John's saying. So let me land this conversation with my opinion. Not that my opinion is the only opinion at all. I actually think that my opinion is going to get dismissed because of just where we are as society, the many different folks who have different opinions about the college dream and whether it's still valuable or not. One of the reasons that I became a campus minister is because this particular time in a human's life is so important. And while I don't think that college is the space for everyone, like going to get an undergraduate degree is what everyone needs to do, there is something about the conversation. And Allison, this does speak to what you were talking about earlier, this ability to have a conversation with a young human where we're talking about what you think you want to do, where you want your life to go, what you want to put your energy into, and what do you need to get there. That conversation is so important. And it's not just about the industry, though, Sam. That's the thing that I mourn is that now college is simply this one step or multiple step, right, to get to this place, as opposed to, and maybe it's never been this, and this is why my opinion probably gets dismissed, this space of formation. I mean, I got into college and campus ministry because it's an opportunity to help young humans take formation as adults super seriously. And I fear that that when we're no longer asking a question about should you go to college, like if that's no longer on the table, I fear that the formation conversation also gets taken off the table, that we're no longer taking that period of time seriously for a human, that instead we're forcing a human, an 18-year-old human, to just go into adulthood without anyone coming alongside them. No community, no one saying, hey, you're not a youth anymore, like you have agency and autonomy, but it's really okay that you don't actually know what to do with that agency and autonomy yet. So let's journey with you. And I fear that if college, and I know no one's saying that, I know no one is saying college is off the table, but I fear that this is where it's going, that college will no longer be an assumption of a person's next step. And because it won't be, we're going to just assume that a 17-year-old can figure out their life like they're 38 without some extra support. Let's have one responsive comment and then we should move on. But I'm really grateful for this conversation. Did anyone want to just respond to me or anything? Grace, I think you unmuted. Go for it, friend.
Yeah, I wonder, because I know that for sure it will, in this current framework, like it will always exist that people will choose to go to college and people will choose not to go to college. And you know, that's like one or the other. There's a lot of space in between that and beyond that and everything. But something that I was going to bring up earlier that I forgot that you just mentioned is the community, but not just in the spiritual formation or in the like social formation, but in networking.
Yeah.
You know, and it's interesting too that like this narrative around why you should go to college, if one should go to college, is not only now about the education and like having the degree, but it's the networks that you build there. Yeah. Depending on your like degree space, depending on your like research area. But like I wonder then, it especially, and this is again with my niche of like being in like ministry space, like there's this weird intersection of socializing and networking where it always feels like both.
Yeah.
And it's both filling and draining.
Yeah. But
I wonder how, like, right, like if some people don't want to spend thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars to go to network for 4 years.
It's legitimate. And this is where, again, my opinion probably gets dismissed in the whole context. So, friends, oh my gosh, this was the best Words from the World segment we've ever had. It was also the first one, which means it is the best. So thanks for your engagement. Let's take a few seconds for a soul break. So, friends, as we are getting ready to end Studio Wesley Live tonight, I just want to give a quick word. You know, at Campus Studio Wesley Foundation, we're working through the Gospel of John, and this week we're reading John 5 and 6. There's this beautiful moment in John 5 where Jesus encounters this guy who's sitting next to this pool, Bethesda, and sitting there. He's been waiting there 38 years for someone to put him in the pool, and that the lore is that, you know, if he gets put in the pool, then he'll get healed. So he's been waiting there for 38 years for someone to put him in the pool. Now, the way the story, you go read John 5, because he's not going to get put in the pool. Jesus is just going to tell him, you know, get up and walk, take your mat, and he's healed. It was a beautiful moment. And be really careful about using that text to promote ableism. That's not, I think, why it was given to us. So I just want to be clear. But the thing that really, really gets me, and this is the thing I want to leave with you all tonight. In this story, the text literally says, when Jesus saw him lying there, Jesus saw him. And I just have to stop. I'll talk about this a little bit later in community group that meets right after this. But like, Jesus saw him. And I celebrate the fact that whether for a reason he was sitting there for 38 years, for whatever reason people didn't put him in the pool, for whatever reason, like he even gets asked this question, like, do you want to be made well? The thing that I celebrate and that really gets me is that Jesus saw him. And I want you all to know that wherever you are, however long you've been wherever you are, and whatever reasons have put you in the place that you're in, I hope that you know that, and I want to say, Jesus sees you. He sees you. He sees how long you've been there, and he's looking with incredible love and wanting to, to be with you in all of those things. And so I just, in this moment where we are in society, but where you are even in your own life, I just want to remind you that Jesus sees you, that best of all, God is with us. And so with that, friends, this has been such a great Studio Wesley Live. I want to thank my panel tonight, Allison and Samuel and Grace. Such great discussions, such great highlights. And friends, we're going to be back here next Sunday, 6 p.m. on YouTube and Instagram. Love you all. And y'all have a great week. We'll see you next week, friends.